Mr. Emmanuel Okeke, known as Mr. Emma, was one of the richest men in all of Enugu state. He didn't come from money, he built his empire from the ground up. Starting as a bricklayer, he worked hard under the sun, saved every naira, and eventually started a small construction company that later grew into a billion-naira real estate business. His mansion in the city was like something out of a movie: 10 rooms, 3 sitting rooms, a private cinema, a swimming pool, and more cars than his drivers could handle. People called him the king without a crown. His phone never stopped ringing. Friends, family, old schoolmates, everyone wanted to be close to Mr. Emma. But as the years passed, Mr. Emma began to notice something strange. His wife, Ngozi, only seemed happy when he bought her new jewelry or took her shopping abroad. His daughter, Amaka, would only talk to him when she needed money for her expensive lifestyle. And his son, Nonso, didn't even hide it. He only came home when he wanted to collect money to invest in failed businesses. One night, Mr. Emma sat on his balcony, looking at the stars. He felt something in his chest. Not chest pain, but a heavy feeling of doubt. If I lost everything today, would these people still love me? The thought didn't leave his mind. He tried to ignore it, but it kept haunting him. He remembered stories of rich men who became poor and were abandoned by the very people they sacrificed for. So he decided to do something crazy, something that would reveal the truth. The next morning he called a family meeting. Ngozi came out in her robe, holding her iPhone. Amaka was busy snapping selfies, and Nonso had his AirPods in his ears. Mr. Emma cleared his throat and said, "I have something important to tell all of you." They looked at him with little interest. "I've lost everything," he said. "My companies, my investments, all gone. The government seized some properties. The bank took the rest. Couldn't stop it. We can't stay here anymore." There was silence. Then suddenly, Amaka laughed. "Daddy, I beg stop this kind of joke, Biko. This prank no funny." But Mr. Emma wasn't smiling. "I'm serious. We have to leave the mansion. We're moving to the village until I can figure things out." Nonso threw his phone on the couch. "To the village? Me? This can't be real." His wife stood up slowly, her eyes full of confusion and fear. "Emma, are you all right? Are you telling me we are poor now?" "Yes," he said calmly. "Very poor." That same week, they packed a few clothes into old suitcases and left their luxurious life behind. No more maids, no more drivers, no more city lights. When they got to the village of Umyuk, reality hit them hard. Mr. Emma's father's compound was still standing, but it was old, dusty, and broken. There was no running water, no electricity, just red soil, mosquitoes, and silence. At first, the family tried to manage, but it didn't take long for the cracks to show. Ngozi refused to cook or clean. "I'm not a village woman," she would shout. "This is not the life I signed up for." Amaka cried every day. "I can't even post on Instagram again. My friends will laugh at me. This is hell." Nonso started disappearing from home, coming back drunk, smelling of alcohol and bad company. And Mr. Emma, he watched it all in silence. At night, he would cry quietly under his pillow. Not because of the hardship, but because of the truth that was now clear. They didn't love him. Not really. They loved his money, his status, his power. Now that it was gone, they saw him as nothing. But this was just the beginning. Mr. Emma had no idea how bad things would get. Umyuk village was quiet, too quiet for the Okeke family. Life here moved slowly, with no honking cars or blaring city sounds. The birds sang in the morning, the crickets chirped at night, and the air smelled of earth and firewood. But to Ngozi, Amaka, and Nonso, this peace felt like punishment. The family now lived in a mud-brick house that once belonged to Mr. Emma's late father. The roof leaked when it rained. The mattress they all shared was thin. The mosquito nets were torn, and the once sparkling clothes they packed were now covered in red dust. There was no light, no Wi-Fi, no running water. "So this is the rubbish life you brought us into?" Ngozi shouted one morning as she stepped outside, holding a bucket. You expect me to carry water from the stream like a village woman? Over my dead body. Emma sat quietly on an old wooden stool in front of the house. He didn't answer her. There was nothing left to say. He just watched as she flung the bucket to the ground and stormed back inside. The villagers watched the once powerful city family with curiosity and amusement. Some remembered Emma from his younger days before he left for the city. Most of them whispered, "Nah, so all that money vanish? See how Madam be like scarecrow now. That boy Nonso, nah the one way dem say get plenty car for town. Now he day borrow bicycle." Mr. Emma heard the whispers, but he didn't respond. He kept his head low and tried to adjust. But his wife and children were different. Amaka began sneaking out late at night. She would leave quietly and return before dawn, her clothes smelling of alcohol and perfume. Emma noticed, but he couldn't find the words to ask. His heart was already heavy. Nonso grew angrier by the day. He refused to help with house chores. He stopped bathing. He began hanging out with local troublemakers who drank palm wine under the mango tree. One evening, he came home with swollen lips and blood on his shirt. "What happened to you?" Mr. Emma asked. "Mind your business," Nonso spat back. "You're not my father anymore. You're just a broke man." Emma's heart cracked a little more. 2 months passed. Ngozi no longer pretended to care. She told Emma to his face, "I didn't marry you to suffer. If you knew you would end like this, you should have died rich. Look at me now, thin, dirty, hungry. All because of you." That night, she packed her small bag, wore her best lace gown, and walked out of the compound. She never looked back. Amaka left a week later. Mr. Emma heard rumors that she had moved to a nearby town and was working at a bar known for night activities. He didn't want to believe it, but the silence from her confirmed it. Then came Nonso's arrest. He had been caught stealing yam tubers from a nearby farm. The farmer almost beat him to death before the villagers separated the fight. Mr. Emma was called to the village square to settle the matter. There, in front of everyone, the farmer shouted, "If your useless son tries it again, I go cut him leg. Rich man don turn beggar. Now in Pekin don turn thief." Emma didn't respond. He knelt down and begged for mercy. His eyes were red, his voice was dry, and his pride was gone. That night, after the village had gone to sleep, Emma sat outside under the mango tree. The moonlight touched his wrinkled face. He stared at the stars as tears rolled down his cheeks. "God, is this my reward for loving my family too much?" he whispered. "They left me like I was nothing. Even my friends don't call. My brothers don't check on me. What did I do wrong?" His voice broke. He buried his face in his hands and cried. Not the quiet tears of a proud man, but the deep sobs of someone who had lost everything and everyone. The next morning, Mr. Emma was walking to the stream to fetch water. He had given up asking Nonso for help. His bones ached. His steps were slow. Just as he bent to lift the bucket, a hand touched his shoulder. "Sir, let me help you." Mr. Emma turned and saw a young man, about 22 years old, with strong arms and kind eyes. His name was Patrick. He was a farmer in the village, known for his hard work and gentle heart. "You don't have to carry that," Patrick said. "I saw you struggling. Let me help." Emma was surprised. No one had offered to help him in months. Not family, not friends, not even neighbors. But this stranger, who had nothing to gain, was offering him kindness. From that moment something changed in Mr. Emma. Patrick was not a rich man. He lived in a small one-room house beside his late father's cassava farm. His days were long and hard, but he was known in the village as a young man with a big heart and quiet strength. The day he helped Mr. Emma carry that bucket from the stream, he didn't know who he really was. To him, Mr. Emma was just another tired, struggling man. One who looked like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. From that moment, Patrick kept checking on him. He would stop by in the mornings to greet him and bring a few tubers of yam, some gari or a bunch of plantains, anything he could spare. "Sir, I brought you some roasted corn today. Eat small, at least to have strength," Patrick would say, placing the food gently in front of him. At first, Mr. Emma was shy. He wasn't used to receiving help. He had always been the giver. But with each passing day, he found himself looking forward to Patrick's visits. It was the only kindness he experienced in that village. One afternoon, Mr. Emma finally asked, "Why are you helping me, Patrick?" Patrick wiped his hands on his wrapper and smiled. "Because I've known suffering too, sir. My mother died when I was 10. My father passed 2 years ago. Sometimes all we need is someone who sees us, not what we have or don't have." "I see you, sir." That answer hit Mr. Emma deep in the chest. For months he had watched everyone around him, his wife, children, siblings, and friends, disappear when the money did. But here was a boy, barely a man, offering him the very thing he had been crying for: genuine care. Soon, the two began to sit under the mango tree together in the evenings. Patrick would tell stories of the village, of his dreams to one day own more land, and how he wanted to help orphans because he had once been one in his own way. And Mr. Emma? For the first time in a long time, he laughed. Not fake laughter to cover pain, but real laughter, the kind that heals. Meanwhile, back in the village, Amaka's name was now being whispered in shame across the village. Rumors of her working in brothels had reached every corner. Some villagers claimed they saw her with older men, while others said she was now dating a married hotel owner in the next town. Nonso had been released after the farm theft incident, but he was no better. He was now drinking palm wine heavily and always had bloodshot eyes. One day, he stole Patrick's hoe from his farm and tried to sell it at the market. Patrick found out but said nothing. He simply walked to Mr. Emma's house the next day and said, "Your son took my hoe. It's okay. I'll manage with my hands for now." Mr. Emma's eyes filled with tears. He couldn't speak. Even worse, his own brothers, men who had eaten from his table when he was rich, now crossed to the other side of the road when they saw him coming. They refused to greet him. They pretended not to know him. Poverty na real disease. One of them told his wife one day, "If you stay close to a poor man too long, your life goes spoil join." One hot afternoon, Mr. Emma sat Patrick down under the mango tree. He looked into the boy's eyes and said, "You don't know who I am, and maybe that's why your heart is pure. But I want you to know. I see you. I see the kind of man you are. And because of you, I'm alive today." Patrick frowned slightly. "I don't understand, sir." Mr. Emma smiled softly. "One day you will. But for now, I want to say thank you." Later that night, Mr. Emma quietly packed a small bag. The clothes were old, his slippers worn out, and his heart heavy. But his mind was clear. It was time. He wrote a short note and left it on the table. "I got a small job back in the city. Thank you, Patrick. I will never forget you." And just like that, he left the village before sunrise. When Mr. Emma returned to the city, he didn't go back to the mansion. He rented a small room on the outskirts of town and began rebuilding his life in secret. What no one knew was that he still had one foreign account with money that hadn't been touched. He had hidden it for emergencies, and this, he believed, was fate. In 2 months, he restarted his company. In 4 months, the contracts began rolling in. And by the 6th month, Mr. Emma was back. Stronger, smarter, and richer than ever. But this time he was quiet. He refused to let anyone know just yet. Instead, he waited and planned something that would shake his world, and theirs. 6 months had passed since Mr. Emma returned to the city. To the outside world, it looked like he had quietly picked up a job as a security guard at a company in the city center. But in truth, he had used the hidden foreign account to revive his real estate business from scratch. He built carefully, quietly, making moves behind the scenes. By the 6th month, not only had he secured 3 major property deals, but he also bought back one of his old estates and opened an NGO focused on helping struggling widows and orphan children. He kept his identity low, never showing his face in public. He worked late at night and stayed off social media. Nobody, not his family, not his friends, not even the business world, knew the powerful Mr. Emma was back. He had only one thing in mind: to tell his story to the world and show everyone who they truly were when the money disappeared. One bright Thursday morning, Mr. Emma walked into the largest TV station in Enugu, Eagle View Television, EVT. He wore a simple white shirt and brown trousers.
No gold wristwatch.
No flashy car, just a small brown envelope in his hand. He approached the receptionist. "I'd like to speak with the producer of your human interest program," he said politely. The receptionist looked him up and down. "Do you have an appointment?" "No," he said, smiling. "But I have a story that will shake this country." That got her attention. 20 minutes later, he was sitting in the office of Mr. Okafor, the station's lead producer. "Sir," Mr. Emma said, "my name is Emmanuel Okeke. I used to be a billionaire. Then I pretended I lost everything to test the people around me. What happened next will make your heart break." Mr. Okafor leaned forward. "Are you telling me this is real?" "Yes. I was betrayed by my wife, my children, my friends, even my own blood brothers. I watched my son turn into a thief. My daughter became a prostitute. My wife left me for another man. The only person who helped me was a poor village boy named Patrick, who had nothing to gain." For 1 hour, Mr. Emma told everything. How he staged the loss, how his family abandoned him, how he suffered, cried, and lived like a beggar, and how one stranger changed everything. Mr. Okafor sat silently, shaken. Then he said, "We want to air your story, but we need your permission." "You have it," Mr. Emma said, "but hide my identity until the final moment. I want the people watching to see the truth before they realize who I am." The following Sunday, EVT promoted the program everywhere. Tonight at 9 p.m., the untold story of a billionaire who disguised as a poor man. What his family did will break your heart. The episode aired that night, and the entire nation tuned in. Mr. Emma sat in the studio, his face hidden in shadows, voice slightly altered. He told everything again. He told the world how people say blood is thicker than water, but his blood relations were the first to abandon him. He told how his wife mocked him, how his son disrespected him, how his daughter chose the streets over her father. He spoke about the shame, the hunger, the pain of seeing old friends cross the street to avoid him. But when he spoke about Patrick, his voice cracked. "That boy gave me hope. He fed me when I had nothing. He helped me fetch water. He checked on me every single day, not because of what I had, but because of who I was." Mr. Emma paused. Then he said, "The boy I met in the village was more of a son to me than the one I raised." Then the host asked, "Sir, who are you really?" The lights shifted, the shadows disappeared, and for the first time the nation saw his face. Phones rang across the country. Social media exploded. "Is this real? That's Mr. Emma. I thought he was dead. His own family did that to him? That boy Patrick needs to be found." In the village, people crowded around small TV sets and generators to watch. Amaka's mouth dropped open as she stared at the screen from the bar where she now worked. Nonso, still hungover, nearly dropped his cup of palm wine. Ngozi, sitting on a mattress in another man's house, covered her mouth in shame. And Mr. Emma's old friends and brothers, who hadn't called him in over a year, began dialing his number non-stop. But he didn't answer. Umuk village had never been this noisy. It was barely a week since the interview aired on national TV, and the villagers were still talking. Everyone had watched the video or at least heard about it. The man they mocked, the one they once called a useless beggar, was actually a billionaire. And not just any billionaire. He was Mr. Emmanuel Okeke, the same man whose face once appeared on newspaper covers, whose business empire touched 3 countries, and who once donated a bus to the local church 10 years ago. People were shocked. But more than that, they were ashamed. Especially his family. The guilt spreads. Ngozi now lived with a local chief, a man old enough to be her father. The moment she saw her husband's face on TV, she fell to the ground, screaming, "Jesus, my husband? Emma?" The chief looked at her with disgust. "You mean you left a billionaire for me? Get out of my house." He threw her clothes into the compound and locked the gate. Ngozi begged, cried, and rolled on the ground, but no one listened. Amaka quit her job at the bar immediately. The shame was too much to bear. Girls she once bragged to now laughed behind her back. Your papa's a billionaire, but you're selling yourself for beer? They whispered. She returned to the village, confused and scared. Nanso had nowhere to hide. People he once drank with were now avoiding him. The man who once bragged about being above village life was now being mocked every day. See Billionaire Pekin Way Thief Cassava. Even Mr. Emma's brothers tried to act like nothing happened. They gathered among themselves and said, maybe he planned everything to test us. Let's just welcome him when he returns. But deep down they were shaking with fear. A white SUV with tinted windows drove slowly into Yumyuk village one bright morning. Dust rose behind it, and children ran after it in excitement. People peeked from their windows, whispering. Parked in front of Mr. Emma's old house. The door opened. Mr. Emma stepped out, clean-shaven, well-dressed, confident, and calm. He wore a black kaftan with gold embroidery and brown leather sandals. His presence alone commanded silence. Behind him came two cameramen from EVT. They were there to document the full return at his request. He looked around the compound, seeing how little had changed, but how differently people now behaved. Good morning, sir. Welcome, sir. We're so sorry for how we treated you, sir. People bowed, some even knelt. But Mr. Emma said nothing. His eyes scanned the crowd, and then he saw Patrick. Patrick stood at the back, shy and unsure of what to do. He hadn't known Mr. Emma was rich. He never even watched the interview. He didn't own a TV. Mr. Emma smiled and walked straight toward him. Patrick, he said softly. Patrick looked confused. Sir. Mr. Emma pulled him into a hug in front of everyone. This is the only man who treated me like a human being when everyone else treated me like dirt, he said loudly. The crowd gasped. Moments later, Ngozi, Amaka, and Nanso pushed through the crowd, all of them crying. Ngozi ran to her husband and knelt before him, her face covered in dust. Emma, please forgive me. I didn't know. I thought you were really finished. I made a mistake. Amaka sobbed, holding his leg. Daddy, I'm sorry. Please don't leave us here. Even Nanso, too proud to cry, fell to his knees. Papa, I failed you. I let the world define my love for you. Please forgive me. The cameras caught everything. Tears, apologies, pain. But Mr. Emma's face remained calm. He looked at them one by one. When I had nothing, you all left me. You insulted me, mocked me, and even used my pain against me. You made me feel worthless. But now that the money has returned, you suddenly remember I'm your husband, your father, your brother. They cried harder. He continued, if it wasn't for this boy, he pointed at Patrick, I may have died in silence. This same boy, who had nothing, gave me everything. Respect, kindness, and friendship. Then he turned to the crowd. I didn't lose my money. I only lost the mask. I now know who truly deserves to be in my life. After a long silence, Mr. Emma turned to Patrick. Pack your things, he said. You're coming with me. You're not just a friend. You're now my son. Patrick's mouth dropped open. Sir? He asked, shocked. I mean it, Mr. Emma said. You showed me real love. And today I name you my heir. My wealth, my home, my future. You're part of it now. The crowd broke into whispers. Ngozi screamed and fainted. Amaka and Nanso cried harder, begging for just one more chance. But Mr. Emma entered his car with Patrick and closed the door. The driver started the engine. As the car drove away from the village, cameras captured the moment the crowd chased behind, shouting and waving. But it was too late. The true ones had been chosen. The rest would live with the consequences.